This is Side A. Congratulations and thank you for choosing the pinnacle of document duplication technology, the Office Supply Incorporated CopyConductor 980TX. With the CopyConductor 980TX from Office Supply Limited, you have chosen not just a copy machine, but a cornerstone for efficiency and quality in your office's document management system. Chapter 1. Unboxing your CopyConductor 980TX. Inside your package, you'll find everything needed to elevate your copying capabilities to the next level. Alongside your CopyConductor 980TX, the package contains the power cable, an initial set of high-capacity toner cartridges, a comprehensive user manual, and a quick start guide to get you up and running in no time.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he picked up one of the chairs lining the left wall of the room, turned to face one of the windows behind him, and threw the chair at the window with all of the force he could muster. Having successfully broken the window, Stanley made a running start and jumped clean through to the street below. Cushioned by an open dumpster filled with garbage, he survived the fall. He exited the dumpster and began to make his way down the street, following the scent of his missing co-workers. As Stanley ventured further down the street, the sounds of the city faded, replaced by the distant, rhythmic thumping of cool, inviting music. Intrigued and driven by an inexplicable urge to find answers, he followed the beat, which grew louder and more compelling with each step. The music led Stanley to an unassuming door, tucked away in an alley, the source of the vibrant sounds unmistakable now. This had to be it, the place where his co-workers had gathered, the very explanation for their sudden disappearance. Stanley pushed the door open and stepped inside. Welcome to the top 20 sound effects from the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Without further ado, number 20. Number 19. Number 18. Number 17. Number 16. Number 15. Number 14. Number 13. Number 12.
Jim.
Number 11. Number 10. Number 9. Number 8.
8.
Number 7. Number 6. Number 5. Number 4. Number 3. Number 2.
Nuclear detonation disabled. Countdown start.
Number 1.
Jim.
Your new CopyConductor 980 TX, it's crucial to properly install the high-capacity toner cartridges that come with your machine. Here's a step-by-step guide to ensure a smooth setup process. Step 1.
Open the
This is day number 295. Tape number... I don't even know. I've lost track. Nothing feels real anymore. The longer I study this bucket, the less sense anything makes. The sheer euphoria I feel every time I pick it up. No matter how many times I've done it, it's always the same feeling. And the emptiness in my chest when I set it down. It doesn't make sense. There's no explanation for it. I still haven't figured out why I see the world so differently when this bucket is in my arms. Why everything feels so... What do I do with this treasure? I can monetize it. Yes. It's unthinkable the amounts of money people will pay for even just an hour with the bucket. This is my golden ticket. But I have to be careful, because as soon as this gets out, there's going to be a target on my back. Even now, I don't know who might be trying to get me. What's that? Who's there?
Once was a man named Stanley, who people considered so manly. But the truth must be told, he was not very old, and was quite particularly gangly. What Stanley liked most was buttons. He pushed them like some kind of glutton. He did it all day in a meaningful way, but his brain had long ceased to function. Which is why he is in this parable, and lives an existence quite terrible. And if you are not strong, and keep playing along, you too will become quite unbearable. Yes. You too will become quite unbearable.
And now a message from the bucket.
again. Always up and around. Always talking about it. These are carpet salesmen, snake oil slingers. It's bloody Game of Thrones Season 8 all over again, and I'm not even, I'm just not. It just didn't make any sense. Heavy artillery, schmartillery. Call that a switcheroo, I'm telling you. Another incident like this, and I'm calling environmental protection. It's the hubris. That's what gets me. Irresponsible, disrespectful. Thankful, though, I'll give them that. Thankfully, they are thankful. And that makes me thankful, I suppose. Cyclical gratitude. Like a van on a ring road. Like a moped hopper on a fountain pen's nib. Laying waste to every dual carriageway in the Midlands. That's how I view things. Of course, it all comes back to these flaming kids. It's these bloody kids, isn't it? They began it. That's for sure. That's how it went, as far as I could see. And, of course, it's the kids who are behind all the serious crime these days. You know what I mean? What about CGI Knuckles, though? People aren't talking enough about that, actually. I'm not joking. This is actually a really... Actually, just let me adjust this. Okay. I think I'm probably about to shoot myself in the foot here by saying this. But I'm not the only one who... No one cares. No one listens. It's all MP3 players and Pokemon, at least it was. And then 2005 came along and changed the calendar. Bloody rigmarole that was, and a permanent stain on my reputation to boot. I never told her about the stolen biro, though. Kept that one quiet. And why wouldn't I in this economy? I'm sat here trying to work my magic. But it's these kids... I mean, it's a grubby job, but someone's got to do it. It's changed my perspective. I came back from that place with a new take on verbatim theatre. I don't like it. Never will. It's filth. It's sordid filth. I'm getting into D&D, though. Dungeons and Dragons. Not Benioff and Vice. Can't stand those...
Tape is full. End of messages.
This is Side B. Chapter 9. Loading Paper, a Step-by-Step Guide. Initiating your journey with the CopyConductor 980TX begins with the simple yet crucial task of loading paper. The device boasts adjustable paper trays designed to accommodate a variety of paper sizes, from the standard A4 and letter sizes to more specialized formats like legal and photo paper. To load paper, gently open the paper trays located at the front of the machine. Carefully place your chosen paper stack into the tray, paying attention not to exceed the maximum capacity mark, which could lead to jams. Once the paper is placed, adjust the guide snugly against the sides of the paper, ensuring there is no room for movement that could affect the alignment of...
Estoy en la memorizón, pensando en ti. Aquí en la memorizón, recordando lo que viví. Volviendo a sentir, buenas la memorizó. Vuelvo a estar junto a ti, tú que conquistaste mi corazón, y me diste tantas horas de diversión. Stanley Parable, Stanley Parable, memorizó, pensando en ti. Aquí en la memorizó, encontré el amor junto a ti. Tú que conquistaste mi corazón, y me diste tantas horas de diversión. Stanley Parable, Stanley Parable,
Here is a free Steam key for the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. However, due to printing issues, all copies of this tape will contain the same key. Please confer online in regards to who should redeem this. NG8GJ, E4I9Z, XFNRQ. Or letter sizes to more specialized formats like legal and photo paper. To load paper, gently open the paper trays located at the front of the machine. Hello. Unfortunately, the person you called cannot come to the phone right now. Please leave a message after the beep.
The night shark is a species of requiem shark found in the temperate and tropical waters of the Atlantic Ocean. An inhabitant of the outer continental shelf and upper continental shelf, this shark most commonly occurs at depths of 50 to 600 meters and conducts a diel vertical migration, spending the day in deeper water and moving into shallower waters at night. Off northeastern Brazil, large numbers congregate around seamounts of varying depths. A slender, streamlined species, the night shark typically reaches a length of 2 meters. It can be identified by its long, pointed snout and large green eyes, and is dark grayish-blue or brown above and white below. Night sharks are quick, nocturnally active, schooling predators that feed mainly on small bony fishes and squid. Reproduction is viviparous. As with the other members of its family, females mate during the summer and give birth to litters of usually 12 to 18 pups after a gestation period of a year. This deep-water species is not known to pose a danger to humans. It is caught accidentally by commercial tuna and swordfish longline fisheries in the western Atlantic, and also by a targeted longline fishery operating off northeastern Brazil. The night shark is highly valued for its fins, and additionally as a source of meat, liver oil, and fish meal. However, most sharks caught off northeastern Brazil have been found to contain unsafe concentrations of mercury. Because of its low reproductive rate and historically documented declines in areas such as the Caribbean, the night shark has been assessed as vulnerable by the American Fisheries Society. A population assessment has indicated that this species is secure in the waters off the United States, but this may not be true elsewhere.
Say there, Timmy, what's that you're enjoying? Why, it's breakfast, of course. Everyone loves breakfast. But did you know that breakfast is getting a sequel? That's right. It's called Lunch. And critics are raving that Lunch will be everything breakfast was and more. With a little luck, we may even get a trilogy series out of it. Say, you know what a sequel is, don't you, Timmy? Why, sequels are the world's way of clinging helplessly to the past. We all want more of the things we love, and we're all afraid of change, which is what makes sequels so popular. New ideas are dangerous, Timmy, and they can lead to early aging. This eager-minded young thinker is just 29 years old. That's why we have sequels, to keep us couched in the familiar and the comfortable. Sequels are the bedrock of a healthy, functional society. And if you look around you, you'll find them everywhere you go. For instance, this man is developing a sequel to the automobile, which we'll call the vertical automobile. It's a useless, impractical invention, and in 2 days' time the man will be publicly stoned to death for his crimes against gravity. Not all sequels are heretical nonsense, however. Here's the man who invented breathing, which is the sequel to suffocating and dying a slow death. Even your parents are getting a sequel, Timmy. Their names are Rob and Jessica, and they'll be taking care of you once your original parents are sent back in time to fight a secret war for the government. Sequels can be very fashionable. This young woman is wearing 5 shirts at once, which is the sequel to wearing 4 shirts at once. Look at Becky over there, wearing only 2 shirts at once. Get with the times, Becky. In fact, there is only one single thing in the world that isn't a sequel. It's this. We don't know what it is or why it exists, but it's the prequel from which all sequels are derived. And just like everything else, the Stanley Parable is getting a sequel too. We all know, of course, that it was your favorite game as a child. Don't you remember those long, lazy afternoons you spent playing the Stanley Parable? Watching your precious youth fritter away hour after hour. We've all wasted our childhoods in one way or another, and you were fortunate enough to get to waste yours on the Stanley Parable. But the Stanley Parable came out years ago, and you're not a child anymore. You're a man, which is like the sequel to a child. And as a man, you want manly things like taxes and cheating at baseball. You need a man's video game, Timmy. And that's why the Stanley Parable 2 will be perfect for you. It's as manly as video games can get. And if you don't believe me, let's look at the burly hunk of a man who's responsible for the game. Here he is, hard at work. His name is Gregory 8-Pack, and he's the cutting picture of raw, virile masculinity. Gregory is what we call the ideas guy, and he has the most important role on the team. The ideas guy tirelessly comes up with interesting concepts and then hands them off to the rest of the developers for the relatively simple job of turning those concepts into reality. For example, he's the one who picked up the phone and declared, "Someone ought to make a sequel to the Stanley Parable." Good work, Gregory. Go ahead and take the rest of the day off. With the hard part out of the way, work on the game can now begin. The game's developers must answer a simple question. What makes a sequel in the first place? Well, it's simple. Sequels are an opportunity to correct the mistakes of their predecessors. We've all made mistakes, and we've all caused harm to someone we love in order to cover up our mistakes. When developing this particular sequel, it's important to start by thinking, what mistakes did the original Stanley Parable make? Well, first off, most of the pornography in the original game was stolen or pirated, and it's time we paid the licensing fees fair and square. Second, the Stanley Parable was catastrophic for this man named Leroy, whose personal information, including home address, social security number, and bank information, were all displayed prominently in multiple locations throughout the game. Although Leroy's money and identity were stolen, the fact remains that his personal information was the emotional core of the game and absolutely vital to a nuanced understanding of the story. As reparation for the harm we caused him, the sequel will contain a brief and insincere apology to Leroy tucked deep within the game where it will be difficult to find. Finally, the Stanley Parable made the mistake of leaking too many government secrets about the nature of the Time Wars. Without these intricate details of specific military tactics, the story is likely to make very little sense. But we've decided to remove them from the sequel in the interest of helping the state's efforts. We'll get to you yet, Time Dracula. Now then, it's time to set about constructing the Stanley Parable 2. Game development is a difficult and complex art, one which can only be fully understood by this race of hyper-intelligent child soldiers bred in laboratories. They begin by studying the original Stanley Parable. Here it is in its raw, untouched form, a specimen of technological perfection. Time to exploit it for profit. We begin by adding jokes. The Stanley Parable was most widely known for its stark lack of humor, bucking all conventional industry wisdom. It was a bold artist statement that its developers stood firmly behind. But in 2022, it's impossible to reach even a single consumer of video games without jokes of some kind. So very well, jokes it'll be. During its development, over 500 kiloliters of comedy will be funneled directly into the core of the Stanley Parable 2, creating jobs for hundreds of machine operators and producing 30,000 tons of pollutant chemical byproduct, which will be pumped directly into local lakes, rivers, and beautiful nature reserves like these all over the country. Another common complaint of the Stanley Parable is that there wasn't enough gameplay, and so for the sequel, its developers have gone to great lengths to fix this problem. Here we can see gameplay being printed onto sheets. Every video game contains as many as 1,000 sheets of gameplay, and several of the largest games ever made contain close to 1,500. On mobile devices, the gameplay sheets have to be printed smaller. For the Stanley Parable 2, as many as 35 new gameplay sheets are being printed, each of which must be delicately massaged by the hands of a child before being added into the game. This man is stealing gameplay sheets from the factory, which he likely intends to use for a personal project he's been developing in his spare time. A good public stoning will cure him of that inclination. Let's check on Gregory real quick. Ha! Still recovering from a hard day's work. Don't you move a muscle. Next up, it's time to blackmail the press. In a competitive market, blackmailing your local journalist can be one of the most effective methods of creating word-of-mouth buzz for your sequel. In fact, blackmail is the currency of social progress. From your neighborhood grocer to the teacher at your school to the man who helps you steal HBO, everyone responds to blackmail. And if you've never done it before, it's easy to practice at home on your friends and family. Simply follow the instructional pamphlet that your teacher hands out after the end of the film. And finally, there's one last tool at our disposal for making the sequel feel fresh and exciting, and that's packaging the game with collector's edition merchandise. If you order the Stanley Parable 2, you'll receive this cow's egg. A single egg will produce over 1,000 cows, which are, of course, the sequel to pigs. And there you have it. Everything there is to know about producing the Stanley Parable 2. Of course, you may know that there is also a game titled the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. So which game is the true sequel to the Stanley Parable? It's an excellent question, Billy. One which the child soldiers have been working round the clock to come up with an answer to. And after many weeks of diligent research, the conclusion they've reached is, who gives a shit? All that matters is that it's more content for you to cram down your insatiable gullet. You don't want thoughtful and nuanced answers to complex questions, Billy. You just want to eat bubble gum and cheat at hopscotch. So get out there and consume. Do your civic duty and bully your parents into buying you every version of the Stanley Parable 2 on every platform. Tell your friends to bully their parents as well. It's through community efforts like these that the world comes together in harmony and connection. And it's only through this connection that we'll defeat Time Dracula once and for all. Don't let the time-traveling vampires win. Buy the Stanley Parable 2 and pledge to support all sequels for today, tomorrow, and into the great unknowable beyond. Thank you for listening to the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe Physical Edition Bonus Content Audio Cassette. To wrap up, here's a very special message from Stanley's missing co-workers. Take it away, everybody.